we're going to get our fertility under control, which we're already doing. I mean, all the advanced countries.
Well, China is going to have a population.
No, I'm talking about how we're all going to go to heaven.
I have to explain
when we're
to you.
already all in hell.
Except here in the Tuscan Garden.
Except here, there's a little bit of heaven.
Across from the Los Angeles Palladium.
There's a little bit of heaven.
All right. Okay. So, the population as of when this goes viral, yeah,
Not viral.
viral, that the population start decreasing toward 144 million people.
Why do you say 144 million?
Nice round number.
It's a nice round number.
But that was the population of America when I was a kid. It was 140 million.
All right. Because there are going to be 12 megalopolises.
Well, that's what the contestant was trying to tell us in the car. She was trying to repeat that. She said she had to paint an image of it.
So there's going to be 12 megalopolises comprising 144 million people.
One of them will be San Francisco, which the Chinese are investing into building up.
The subway to nowhere.
All right, let's get to heaven now.
All right, now
12 megalopolises.
So around the world there'll be these 12 megalopolises, and then the 12 motherships will show up over each megalopolis.
Okay, that's fun. All right, why not?
And each mothership.
You never told me this before.
No,
this is new.
Well,
I've never heard this.
You didn't ask me, did you?
All right.
Go ahead. You're all going to come.
They're all going to come hovering over, like in the movies.
Right.
And from each of the megalopolis, 12 million people will go aboard
12 cities
the
with 12
flying
million.
saucer. 12 million.
Yeah,
Each 12 million.
And then where are they going to go? The rapture.
Go to heaven. The rapture. This is the rapture.
Why
rapture.
Why not?
Right. It's also the resurrection. It's the resurrection and the rapture.
But what about all those 8 billion people? What are they? They're in mass graves?
The fertility. No, I mean they've
I'm speechless.
See, it's only one soul. This is only one soul.
It's all one soul anyway. So we have a lot of redundancy.
Anyway.
It's gauge
there's no
freedom.
redundancy, Jack. This is the best possible. Okay, now, guess what? Remember, this is the Alpha and the Omega, and the Omega goes back to the Alpha, which was the 12 megalithic. We go from megalopolis back to megalithic.
But how are we going to heaven? And who are the people that are bringing? Who are on the motherships? Who's driving the motherships?
Everybody who's then there all the 144 million are going on the motherships, and 144,000 are coming back to the megalithic, the 12 megalithic communities, and 12 Noah's Arks. Now this is the 12 with each 12,000 people. Wait a minute.
Dan, you're cut off. No more scotch for you, Dan.
The 12,000 come back.
Was this a dream you had? No, we're still videoing.
Yes, yeah.
Are we on camera?
Yeah.
1 minute.
Was this your epiphany? Was this your?
Try to get it down in 1 minute, Dan.
This was a year ago.
A year ago. Yeah.
What were you reading? A science fiction book?
The Bible and science fiction.
Which science? Okay, all right.
Okay.
Why not?
August 14th, Tuesday, 2012, and we are back in the Tuscan Garden with Dan Smith and Jack Sarfatti.
No.
And
2014.
Today is the 14th.
It's the 14th, but it's 2012.
Oh, he said 2012?
Yeah, I did. What'd you think I said?
I thought you said, forget it.
He said the 14th.
Okay. Well, let's not quibble over space-time here.
Well, space-time locations
but
are
how
very
do we know? I thought the camera was rolling 5 minutes ago. That's why I was hamming it up. So how do we know it's
just start now? It's going.
It's rolling right now.
Take his word for it.
I guess trust. It's called trust.
It's called trust.
This
is Dan sober.
Maybe was he sober? Or he got a hangover?
Can we trust?
Well, maybe with a hangover too.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Now, as I was saying, I thought when I was speaking into the rolling camera 2 minutes ago, I was suggesting to Jack, I was requesting his permission to see if we could reboot the Jack and Dan
You have my permission,
show,
Dan.
and he already, now we have it again.
Yes.
All right. Now, first of all, now this is triggered by something you said last night. Well, when we were not as stone cold sober as we are right now.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And this was that you wanted proof. I was making all my usual
proof of what?
statements.
Of any
anything.
dumb thing he says.
Any dumb thing. And my point is that nobody has proof of anything.
Not true. We have evidence. We have in physics theories, we have experiments and with data, and the data fit the experimental curve. So that's proof. In empiric, that's not mathematical proof.
Right.
Not mathematical. So that's very different from a lot of the, bull tweedle that a lot of people say about so-called metaphysical and meta-theoretical things like the multiverse and
Jack,
string theory.
You're picking up in the middle. See,
Yes.
you're picking up somewhere in the
there's
middle.
a vital
and
distinction.
I'm trying to go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Which is, we don't know if we are awake or asleep. We could be dreaming. We don't know if we're waking or dreaming.
Whether we're waking or dreaming, what significant difference would it make? If it doesn't make any difference, it's a meaningless distinction. See, that's what I say. I guess am I an operational? Am I a pragmatist? Am I a positivist? I'm sort of a positivist, right? Whatever.
No, because then you'd be less of a physicalist if you were a positivist.
Well, you can always pinch yourself, and if you feel pain, wouldn't that imply that you're awake?
Not necessarily. It could be a dream, but that becomes meaningless. That's okay. I consider that to be what Richard Feynman called philophosy, but the scholastics in the monasteries in the Middle Ages trying to count how many angels could fit on the head of a pin. It doesn't make it a little bit like the string theorists today, except maybe I'm being too hard on string theory. It's beginning to make some predictions, but we'll egg them on. But the thing is this: it's unless it makes a significant difference to something important, who cares? It's just words.
I agree, Jack.
It's just
I
words.
agree. Now
Unless it's poetry,
No, this is not about poetry. This is about eschatology, and the proof is going to be. The proof is that we don't know if humanity's going to survive the next 20 years.
That's true.
And this puts a new spin on the nature questions about why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing, and if we're all going to hell in a handbasket,
which is quite likely
in a couple of decades,
in the worst of all possible world scenario,
right?
All right, it's a possibility.
Then this affords us an opportunity to perhaps rethink and consider alternatives to scientific progress.
No, I don't. I will not consider that is outside of my comfort zone. And that gives me an extreme case of cognitive dissonance. Okay, but let me say something about eschatology. Okay, I have done something remarkable. I have made eschatology a real physical, testable idea because using traditional cosmological physics of Tamara Davis's thesis based on Einstein's general relativity, the standard mainstream precision cosmology stuff, I have shown, I have proved without a shadow of doubt, I've gotten the right answer. I have derived the observed value of the dark energy density accelerating the expansion rate of space in our universe from eschatological Wheeler-Feynman, Hawking, Unruh, thermal black body radiation coming back from our future cosmological event horizon. I have shown that the black body radiation density from that future edge of space and time, that it gets lowered in energy, gets redshifted down to exactly the observed value we observe today.
Right.
Okay, so that is
that's eschatology.
That is eschatology. What do you pronounce it? Eschatology. That is eschatology on steroids, man. And I have derived that, and none of the mainstream goofballs have understood what I'm saying there.
But you derived that from a purely theoretical point of view?
I derived it from mainstream physics that everybody accepts. I haven't used any principles that Stephen Hawking and Bill Unruh and Jacob Bekenstein and Kip Thorne, all these guys will agree with it. Will agree with what I'm saying. Lenny Slutsky, they'll all agree that what I'm saying, is mainstream physics, but they just haven't seen it that way yet. Right. They're so biased against Back from the Future that they haven't looked. I'm using their idea. I'm not doing any new physics. I'm doing traditional, mainstream, battle-tested, standard, cosmological, Einsteinian physics. And that's all I'm doing. It's not a new theory. It's not an alternative theory. It is the theory that everybody is using. But I've applied it in a way they haven't seen. The new idea is Back from the Future. That's not even new. It's Wheeler and Feynman.
Now, is it fair to say then, Jack, that you are the closest thing to an eschatologist that present-day physics can produce?
Probably, but I guess Frank Tipler was. Frank Tipler
used to be.
Well, I mean, he may still be. He's still alive, I think.
Okay. He's not alive?
I hope he's alive.
I'm sorry, Frank.
Haven't heard he's dead.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Tipler, I think Tipler was the, Teilhard de Chardin was the first one to, but he's not a physicist. But I'd say Frank Tipler is probably... Well, Wheeler to some extent. Well, Wheeler when he talked about the final anthropic principle and delayed choice. So I would say it starts kind of with Wheeler. Right, well, I mean, philosophically, it's the Chardin.
So you understand now, people, if anybody is crazy enough to watch this film, they'll understand why I'm here to come to give my obeisance, whatever they call it, to the leading eschatologist of today, the scientific eschatologist of our time.
How many times did MIT physics professor David Kaiser cite me in his book? How the hippies?
Oh, it was embarrassing. 635. 635.
How many times did he cite Nick Herbert? 420?
409.
409 Nick Herbert. Yeah.
See how sober I was?
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Okay. Now
and every down the line, Werner Erhard was that way. Werner Erhard was
third. Third. Oh, okay.
And Ira Einhorn was fourth.
Ira, what? Oh, really?
I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's some company you're keeping.
Yeah, some company.
Yeah.
That's why Sylvan Schwaber, who was a professor of mine at Brandeis briefly back in around 1960, Sylvan Schwaber, in his review of David Kaiser's book in Physics Today, made a snide little remark associating me with Ira Einhorn, when in fact it was Heinz Pagels, who was a really close friend of Ira Einhorn's, and also so was Nick Herbert. Not me. I was on the periphery, really, but that's all right. I'm taking the mantle of the bad boy, the enfant terrible of those who say
this is fast
physics.
Company.
Fast company. Right.
All right. Okay. Now, so all I'm asking, Jack, is for your partial blessing to try to go the other. We're trying to come from the eschaton, from the ground up, one step at a time.
Yes.
Now, I'm requesting just a little bit of permission here to just look at what it might be the rest of the way, to take it. Suppose we were God. You're taking a Jack Sarfatti point of view.
I'm curve fitting. I'm curve fitting.
Right. Now,
I'm testing using standard physics and getting a remarkable back from the future result. That explains some remarkable anomaly that nobody yet understands. And so it's important from a physics point of view about about religion, ethics, the fate of man, the destiny of man, all that kind of stuff. Frankly, I really don't give a damn, speaking as a physicist.
Right, as a physicist. Yeah. Now I'm approaching you as Jack the man. Jack the man.
Jack the, Jack, the man.
The man.
You mean the man.
The man. The man. The man.
Here comes the man.
Yeah, like that.
Here comes the judge.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, but being a little bit less judgmental now.
Okay.
Try to set your physics hat aside.
And put on my crown of thorns.
And put on your crown of thorns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And to
put on the Sarfatti thing, the Russian,
to
the rabbi's cap,
to let our imaginations run wild.
Sure.
Just because we need to think outside the box.
Yes.
We're coming to a critical time in human history.
Yes.
And it's not going to hurt. And we're glad that all the physicists are out there doing their work.
Yeah.
One step, baby steps.
Baby steps.
But maybe it wouldn't hurt too much if you and I took off our physics hats, or not forgetting the physics, but trying to go out beyond that box.
Without contradicting the science.
Without
within the
blatant contradiction.
Yeah, using the science as much as we can as kind of constraints on what is, we don't want to violate what has been verified scientifically, because nobody in power will believe it in that case. They'll just write you off as a nut. But this way, I'm staying within within what's known about science.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, when you're outside the box, you're outside the box.
Well, Jack, 25 years ago, they were writing you off as a nut, but they're not doing that anymore.
Some of them do still. I mean, that's why it happened with Valentini and Michael Towler and David, with the David Bohm conference in Italy. Somebody told Anthony Valentini, Anthony, you will not get a job if you let Josephson and David Pete and Sarfatti come to this meeting.
He'll be out of it. He'll get fired.
Well, it'll impact it, and it's in writing. They said they were threatened, basically, that it could impact on the future employment of some of the younger physicists.
That's like a scientific inquisition.
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's not. And the same thing happened with Valdir Rodrigues Jr. in Brazil in Unicamp. Same thing. He was explicitly threatened with the break off funding for his students.
Who do you think's doing that?
I don't know who's doing it.
You think it's an organized cabal?
Well, it's a group of some old, very conservative, not conservative. What do you call them? Rhinos? I mean, what would you call them?
Winos or rhinos?
No, we're the winos. They're the rhinos.
Rhinos, yeah.
Whatever.
All right. Okay, so great. Now let's go back to. We're not violating anything in physics to say that maybe we are asleep and doing physics in our sleep.
Gurdjieff said that.
Most people with any kind of spiritual inclination have said that
most people are
like
all you have to do is walk. All you have to do is walk outside and see the tourists going down Lombard Street, the twisted street, and look around. Most people are really stupid and sleep. They are.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't know what's going on. They're being sold a bill of goods politically on all sides, and they're like cattle being pushed off the cliff. So I take that for granted.
So
most people are definitely sleeping.
Suppose you were God and you wanted to wake people up. Suppose you said, okay.
How do you know God wants to wake them up? Maybe God wants them to sleep.
I never said. I didn't say he did. I'm just saying suppose. Remember, we're outside the box. All right. Now, first of all, why would God put us to sleep? That's one.
Well, you see, social Darwinism, Darwinian evolution explains why most people are asleep. I think pretty much because it had survival value at the beginning. But now the survival value is decreasing because of there are too many people on a finite environment, and we're running out of resources, and things are getting too complicated for people to manage, and so on and so forth. But there was obviously an evolutionary advantage for people to be kind of asleep at the beginning, so that with strong leaders, elite system,
So are you implying, Dan, that the eschaton will be the awakening?
Yeah. Well, that would be the final awakening. And the question is, given, say, a couple hundred years, well, what's the optimum time to prepare for this final awakening, which would be like what the Christians talk about as a rapture?
Yeah, that's right. Well, this has nothing to do with science anymore. That's getting into evangelical Christian theology.
I know,
if it makes you happy, believe it. But most people, given the choice, they may not want to be awake.
No, but
it's too much for them.
Remember, we're putting on God's shoes now. God's spectacles.
You're putting on your
shoes.
Concept of God's shoes. Listen, go back to Plato. Go back to Plato's allegory of the cave.
Someone was just
I know, somebody's looking.
looking.
Put on. Go back to Plato's allegory of the cave.
Allegory of the cave.
Right? And remember, the guy went outside the cave. The sun was too bright for most of this, but they don't want to be. They don't want to be woken up. Okay.
That's right.
They just want to go. They don't want to be woken up. And in fact, they crucify those who wake them up.
That's
just the way
That's
Brian Josephson, David Pete, and Jack Sarfatti were crucified by not being allowed to go to that conference at Michael Tower's Institute, even though Joseph and I were one of the designers of it, one of the initiators of it. So so that's the allegory of the cave. People want to be enchained. They want to be looking at the shadows. They don't want to see the light.
Right.
Most people. Even smart people.
Well, all right, but try to keep in mind.
So you're imposing your desire on the masses. You can't do that.
No,
you may personally get enlightened. That's fine.
No, I'm simply saying that, look, what we've had, human history up to this point has been pretty good. We've been improving. We've been improving.
But at a big
most
price.
People, if you said, when would you like to have been alive? Now, today, or 100 years ago? Most people would say, yes, we've been making progress, material progress.
Yeah, from a materialistic point of view, of course.
No, but no, in terms of suffering, there's been a lot less suffering for the privileged and the elite, of which we are part.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of people throughout the world who are there. Like, what's the latest thing? Cameron, the Prime Minister of England, just had this meeting at the end of the Olympics, just like yesterday, the day before, saying 177 million children throughout the planet don't get enough food by the time they're 2, so that they'll never be mentally normal. So there's a lot of suffering. And in terms of
nonetheless, the average person has been
not the average. Only the privileged, only the privileged cadre, the privileged classes all over the world. They have had a better life.
But Jack,
but not the lower part.
All right, Jack, let me ask you this: would you rather be here, be alive, and be starving, and be living in poverty, or not be alive at all? Suppose that was a choice that God
not be alive
gave
at
to
all.
you.
Not be alive at all.
You would prefer to never be alive.
Yes.
Well, I think most people. Will you grant me? It's quite likely most people would disagree with you. If that
I don't
was
know.
their choice.
Hey, who knows? That's empirical. They're getting to sociology. There are scientific
I'm just
ways.
saying, all right,
So I have no idea. I have no idea.
Okay.
You know, and I think these are kinds of questions that most people are not even capable of grasping.
All right. Yeah.
You know.
Nonetheless, people
and what
do
does it
see
matter?
all the people.
Are you trying to save all? Are you trying to save all 7 billion people on the planet? What are you trying to? You're trying to save them all. You're a Christian. All right. Good luck to you.
No, I'm not a Christian. Christians only want to save Christians.
Okay.
Typically.
Oh, so you are a super Christian.
I'm a super.
You're the magic Christian.
Yeah.
And hey, it's commendable. I commend you for it.
And I'm saying that, we have, life is more interesting today than it was for more people, more interesting for more people than it was 100 years ago.
Of course, life is in.
And even if now there may be more people starving, the total
suffering,
number, and suffering still.
Suffering bad. Look at what's happening in Aleppo and Syria.
Most people are
not most people. No,
many people.
Not even many people. Fraction, maybe 10%, maybe 20% of the population. Maybe 1 billion people.
Okay.
But 6 billion don't.
Well, what does that have to do with your version of the eschaton?
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything? Exactly. It's getting cold.
All right. The question is when? When do we do? Should we? When people realize that we've now starting to consume, we're now starting to eat ourselves out of house and home.
Yes.
Then that would relate to the timing of when we should be liberated from this cage?
Dan, basically, it's your miracle. If a miracle happens, your wish fulfillment.
Right.
It's a very,
Right.
But I frankly don't think it's going to happen. I think we're like a cancer on the planet that has metastasized.
Right.
And it's going to be a gruesome end for most of the people. Okay. That's what I think.
That's what.
And I hope it doesn't happen, but that's what I see.
That's what most non-religious people would believe, and for good reason. For very good reason.
Okay. I'm just being. I'm like just the facts. Yeah. What's his name? Yeah. What's
Joe Friday.
Joe Friday.
Detective Joe Friday.
I'm Joe Friday. I'm bad cop. He's good cop.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I see happening.
Now we're okay. So here we may be. Most people, educated people think we are just now becoming a cancer on the planet. And I'm saying, okay, they may be right, but let's consider, you and me, hopefully, consider that we may be a chrysalis. And that we're like a chrysalis, and we're being wired together. We're forming the global mind, brain, and we're about to wake up and spread our wings.
Well, apropos of that was the DARPA NASA 100-year Starship project that I was one of the original 30 helping to formulate it.
That's right.
And they're having a meeting in September, which I'm not going to, but Bill Clinton is going to be there. President Clinton's going to be there. So maybe he'll raise money for them.
All right.
Good luck to them. But I don't think it's going to lead to anything because the scientific part of that group are just a bunch of the usual suspects, and they don't have anything really.
Well, they don't have any vision.
They don't have any real vision. They don't have any new ideas. They're just doing solar sails. They're doing ion propulsion. They're
nothing really that we haven't heard about.
Nothing we haven't heard about, and nothing
before.
Stuff, however, that may be okay for solar system exploration, for planetary.
Right.
But will not be good.
It's fine for setting up a colony on Mars and exploring Europa.
So that's good. Let them do it, and hopefully Bill will go to some of his rich friends and, like the guy Branson from Virgin Galactica, maybe get some money. They'll probably get Bill Gates and Warren Buffett put in some money.
I'm not saying we shouldn't keep trying to do that.
So maybe it'll lead to something.
You and I now are the only people with a scientific background who are looking at this chrysalis option. The chrysalis option.
Hey, maybe it's a chrysalis, but even if it is a chrysalis, at best it's going to be like when worlds collide. Maybe a few humans will escape to the stars, but most of the people here are still going to come to a miserable end. Is the most likely scenario. I'm being really devil's advocate here. There is no hope for most of the people alive today to have a decent life.
Well, then God is...
Including a lot of Americans, because look what's happening, the stalemate politically.
If that's the case, then I would say God is a moral monster.
Well, God may be.
If that is the case.
God may be malicious.
God is malicious.
Einstein's really greatest blunder may have been when he said he thinks God is subtle but not malicious. God may be not subtle at all.
Going back to this idea, this what you just mentioned about the increasing political polarization and economic polarization on the planet, where the wealthier are getting wealthier,
the 1% versus
and the middle class is being dismantled and impoverished.
True.
That is setting the stage for catastrophic conflict.
Is this Tina?
Yes.
Contessa.
I think it'll get worse as they get worse.
It does seem that, particularly for middle class people around the world like you and me and Kim, that things are getting kind of rocky. And
things are getting rocky.
Things are getting rocky that way.
Now, the only thing is, the only hope are the flying saucers. The only hope for you, a miracle. That they will come in time to rescue us because it's pretty clear that humans are incapable of rescuing themselves. That's pretty clear. And since it's been clear since September 15th, 2008, that the venality, the criminality, the short-sightedness. I'm now the misanthrope, man. I'm like Jonathan Swift. I mean, our leaders.
Let's unpack that a little bit. The flying saucers idea, because it's possible that we may have been engineered by these beings
Yes.
in some degree.
Yes. In
But,
fact,
you know,
it's likely. That's the whole
the ancient astronaut idea.
Garden of Eden is a genetic experiment by man. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there is a lot about human biology that we are still ignorant of, and we are discovering constantly.
Well, the genome is.
No, but there are large amounts of DNA that we do not understand.
Well, also we don't fully understand. But I'm not an expert in this area, but we don't fully understand the metal levels. You know, how everything is organized and how the organization emerges, and see, that may involve back from the future effects. In fact, that's kind of what Roger Penrose is saying in his quasi-crystal tiling idea. He says that the evolution is highly non-local, and I think that involves back from the future retrocausality. I think he might admit to that. I'm not sure. And he's vague too. He's grasping as well.
Right.
But he says that he thinks in biology, this kind of, that's his whole strong, that's why he's against strong AI. He says this is non-computable. But it is non-computable if by computability you mean only retarded past to present effects, you see. The non-computability part is the back to the future destiny effect, the eschaton effect. Let's call it the eschaton effect. It's the eschaton effect, which is the non-algorithmic, non-computable part according to standard computational theory, which does not permit back to the future retrocausal effects.
Well, Dan, let me just while we're on the eschaton, I just want you to define again, exactly in the most accurate and concise way you can, what your definition of the eschaton is.
That would help
for the audience.
That would help.
Yeah, it's the omega point, which could come within 200 years. It'll come at the best possible time, and we're the
Where'd you get
ones who
200
will
years?
decide.
Where'd you get 200 years? Why not 2 years?
No, because that's
20 years.
how long we can wrap up our business and not feel hurried, and be able to enjoy, smell the flowers and do everything we wanted to do before before we go on to the not just the next level, but before we go on beyond space and time.
Well, I think your number 200 years is.
I'll give you however you want. Less than that, fine. You want more than that,
I want it to
fine.
be tomorrow.
No,
Why not tomorrow?
Because it would be traumatic. It would just be totally. It would be total.
Right. So in other words, after you're dead, after Dan Smith is dead, it's going to happen.
But does that require the death of the body?
It requires that we take on glorified bodies. See, now I get that from the Christians. See, they're not.
But you want to know something?
Well, no, you're evading the question. Does it require? It seems to me to imply that that's not going to happen until we have died.
Are those parrots we're hearing?
Yeah, we're here. Those are the parrots.
Are the Knob Hill parrots.
Telegraph Hill parrots.
Telegraph Hill parrots.
They get around.
They get around. They fly great distances.
All the way to the Los Angeles Presidio.
But let's get back to this. I just want to explore this a little bit further, Dan. Does that require the death of the body?
I forgot what it was already.
No. Does this omega point eschaton moment require us to collectively die before we come to that point, or can this happen while we're still physically here on Earth?
Yeah. In which case, Dan, you can have it. It's too much for me. I don't want it. You can have it.
Yeah, I'm saying that there will be a evacuation, a exodus. There will be
through the world,
exodus.
through the stargates.
Through the motherships.
Is that your definition?
That we had the 12.
Oh, you had the 12.
Is that your definition of the rapture?
Where'd you get it? What?
From the Christians. I'm getting it from.
Oh, you're getting it from. Are you getting it from the Mormons? Are you getting it from Mitt Romney's, what's his name, Smith? Is this in the Book of Mormon?
Smith.
Joseph Smith?
Yeah, well, we are not related. I don't think that.
Are you sure you're not related?
I don't think so.
Because you and Joe Furmich could be related. I mean, physically, are you sure you're not related to Joseph Smith?
I don't think so. No.
Because that's what
my dad knew was a professor along with Albert Smith.
Well, there is a lot of intermarrying in the Mormon religion.
Who was related to Joseph Smith, I believe.
Wait, Al Smith, you mean who ran for president?
No. Never mind. All right.
Well, wait a minute. But is this from the Book of Mormon? Are the Mormons a UFO cult?
This is from both the New and the Old Testament.
12 cities of 144,000? I mean, that stuff?
12 being a...
Where
144,000, that comes from I think the Book of Revelation. Actually.
Really? Is it in there? I don't know my Bible.
Yeah. And it's also the 12 tribes of Israel.
Well, the 12 tribes of Israel,
right?
Yes,
That
yes,
kind
yes,
of.
yes.
It's and all right.
But this is all superstition, old wives' tales.
Sounds like we have an audience out there.
Yeah. At least the parrots.
Yeah, they're parroting us.
Yeah, the parrot. It's like it's Aristophanes, the birds. Or maybe it's Alfred Hitchcock, the bird.
Either that or they're laughing at us.
All right. Come on, guys.
All right,
I'm going to have to cut you off here.
All right, go ahead.
If you guys not careful, you'll get cut off.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
You seem to be in pain.
Wait a minute.
Okay, you need some X-Lax.
All right. Now wait.
Just watch out that the parents don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Forgive my moment, my senior moment. I had a senior moment.
You had a senior moment, did you?
Yeah. Now, last night on the iPhone, and it's still recorded here, we had 23 minutes of the Jack and Dan show on the audio thing, discussing AI and the soul question, whether or not humans had souls.
Yes.
And we might give a very brief rehash, so brief if you blink they're going to miss it.
My concept of the soul is simply consciousness. Any machine that has inner quality of consciousness, that's our soul.
All right.
Conscious experiences are the expression of the soul. In my opinion, that's my definition.
As an analogy, you were suggesting that when we get to the iPhone 8, number 8,
whatever it is,
that would be like consciousness, and it would qualify for having a soul.
Yes.
All right. Now, the problem is that's fine. That would be fine. But then, what about when you get to operating system, quantum non-local operating system number 9? Now, what's going to happen to the 8s? You see,
this has all been discussed.
The 8s are going to be obsoleted just overnight.
Well,
like
same
the
thing
iPhone,
happens with humans. The Neanderthals, Cro-Magnons, the Neanderthals, and all the primitive, they were all superseded. I think the social Darwinism.
All right, so that means that this is what transhumanism. This is what is called transhumanism. That we will be superseded by our machines or by the ETs. Terminator.
Arnold's going to come. Arnold's going to come with his motorcycle jacket.
Can you see why we might have reason to say, we would stop?
No, I think we're going to be hybrids. It'll be hybrids.
Well, yeah. If the alien abduction phenomenon is a real phenomenon, as a number of people, sane people claim, it's possible that we are being hybridized.
Right.
And there's not a hell of a lot that our governments can do about it.
Right.
And I've been told by Jack that there is some real concern at the very highest levels that this might be going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. That's where you get to the 1% or the 0.01% versus the 99.9%.
Yeah, or even more than that.
We then have a lot of useless eaters in the world.
They were just talking about obese people consuming too much resources. That the number of obese is like an extra billion. If the obese people could become thinner, it would be like saving a billion people from the population, effectively a billion people. So all this, okay, look, you see it right now. It's beginning with Mitt Romney and Paul, is it Ryan?
Ryan.
They're talking about cutting the social entitlement, Medicare.
Yeah.
That is the beginning. It's a kind of that is the beginning
of the cull.
The culling process. Okay,
yes.
so it's going to start with the elderly, the poor. It's going to start. They're going to start basically letting the poor die off.
Let the devil take the hindmost.
Take the hindmost. It's going to be like Dickinsonian London again.
Yes.
Okay, that's what's going to.
Is that a moral thing?
Well, I don't know if it's moral. I'm just telling you what's happening.
A moral thing.
I'm just saying what's happening. These are found. I'm not judging it one way or the other.
Now,
I'm
what
just
did Jesus say? You know what Jesus said?
Well, let me just finish. Then they're going to get to the fat people.
Fat people. Oh God, yes, the fat people.
We'll see. Well, I mean, this is what's going on. So we have a kind of new eugenical, fascistic, oligarchical.
The Romney-Ryan eugenics program.
Romney-Ryan eugenics
social
program.
Darwinism.
Social Darwinism is coming in. Now the question is, are the masses who have most of the votes, are they so stupid that they don't see they're cutting their own throats? And who are they going to vote for? Not that Obama may.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter because Obama will probably go along with it, but it'll just take a little bit longer. I mean, I'm being very cynical.
Yeah, right. Obama will just add a lot of window dressing to make it. He'll just do the window dressing, the public relations window dressing, to make it look as though.
But you can see why I'm being realistic as well. Being pessimistic and cynical.
But you see, realistic. I relate this. You could say that those people, those other people out there, if they have an IQ, say, less than 100, that's like the Apple operating system number 8.
We don't know.
Then you have the people come along that have IQ of 110, and that's like operating system.
Yeah, but when you network all those IQ 8 low IQ iPhones, conscious iPhones together on the internet, then they become a super intelligence. Because the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
See, that's
just like one neuron, and we have 10 to 11 neurons.
All right, now we're talking about the global
vast,
mind.
active, PK Dick, vast, active living intelligence.
Right.
What I.J. Good, who worked with Alan Turing, called God, G-O-D, with the parenthesis.
Apostrophe D.
D. 2 D's, like the secret name of God and the Kabbalah.
All right.
All that stuff. Listen, it's all happened. Look, it's important to see what's going to happen in this election in November. When is election day? November 6th, 2012.
I don't.
I mean, there's a real diverging here. What's going to happen? Because it's now clear. And I'm not supporting either side on this. I'm just
like
observing.
Your analogy, though, that the survival. If we want us, low IQ compared to the ETs who are supposed to have, huge heads and
the IQs will be smarter than us.
It's okay. They might want us to be part of the cosmic phallus.
They want us because we're probably physically more robust. There's certain qualities we have that they probably need, and that's why the hybrid.
Well, that was what Kim was talking about, the hybrid.
Yeah, well, that's it's Steven Spielberg's Falling Skies. That's what it's all about there.
Well, let me just posit something here.
The hybrids. Yeah.
What if all of a sudden there was a mass global awakening, and we came up with a very benevolent, fair global government that redistributed all the wealth that was concentrated into such small numbers of hands. Just let me finish. And everybody was educated, everybody was clothed and
ain't gonna
fed.
happen. You know why?
Do you think that would make any difference?
No, and it's not possible because there isn't enough to go around. It's like the Titanic has sunk, and there are too many people in the water and people in the lifeboats, and there's not enough capacity in the lifeboats.
We're back.
We can't support 7 billion people or 9 billion people at the level we're living at. It's impossible. It violates the laws of physics. We just can't do it. There's not enough to go around.
So everyone would take a collective massive hit.
Not only everybody be hit, but
We'd all be impoverished, basically.
Everybody would be miserable. Nobody, and it would mean there'd be no technology. Everything would collapse, and it would be Thomas Hobbes, state of nature, short, nasty, and brutish. Right. It's apocalyptic. It's apocalyptic. It's Mad Max.
Okay. I can't argue with that.
All right, Jack. We've gone back to the idea of a cancer. That humanity is a cancer on the planet, and the only thing is radical surgery. Radical surgery. Right? Yeah.
That's what the Republican Party is doing.
That looks like.
Well, that's what all the conspiracy people think too. Is that there's going to be a massive culling of large numbers of human beings.
But you mentioned something though about this. Why don't we all plug into the Vallis? And that's
Who's all? There's only a few people who even understand the concept. There's only the 1% or less than 1% who even can grasp what you're talking about, man. I mean, the others, most of them, the others are so asleep. They can easily brainwash into putting on suicide belts, blowing themselves up.
And the practical question is, how quickly can we wake up? If I'm correct, God is playing brinksmanship with the world.
I hope.
And we are sleepwalking up to the precipice. We are all 7 billion of us sleepwalking
if the flying saucers are real, and if they're benevolent, and if they come down in time to save us, that's the only happy solution that's conceivable to my mind.
All right.
That's my opinion.
Suppose, Jack, that tomorrow or tonight, the mothership appears over the Los Angeles.
Given the new facts, of course.
Arthur C. Clarke did that in Childhood's End.
Childhood's End. Hey, given
Independence Day.
Joe Friday. Given the facts, I modify my opinion, and there's more hope.
Right.
Either that, or
you're Joe Friday. You want proof.
I want proof.
You want proof. There's going to be nothing before there's proof.
Yes.
All right. However, those.
Hey, by the way, it's really good today. This Freud is excellent.
So who gets taken aboard? You said 140. You had this figure of 144,000 people.
144,000.
Are those the best and the brightest, or who are they? Are they the most spiritually developed and pure people?
They're the
who
people
gets taken aboard?
Remember, my campaign.
Yeah. Hey, listen. There is empirical evidence.
Yeah.
There is empirical evidence for what you're saying, roughly, because of my weird high strangest contacts as a child. See, it's consistent with what you're saying.
Yeah, see?
Okay, it's consistent.
See?
However, then they have to show. If they don't show while we're still alive, then it was just,
but let's go back to Arthur Clarke.
Real.
Let's go back to Independence Day. What happens when that mothership shows up in the sky at night, and then what? Then there's what? Panic? Would there be panic?
Obviously, there would be panic.
Right.
There would be enormous panic.
It's when someone's walking on the edge of a roof. Wait a minute. Can we have a slight
cut?
Can we need to cut it?
Rolling.
Okay. So here we are, 7 billion of us sleepwalking toward this precipice of survival
or destruction.
Of our destruction. And one thing about sleepwalkers is you have to be careful about how you wake them up.
That's good. I like that.
And putting a mothership, sending 12 motherships over 12 cities in the world is probably not a smart way to do it.
That would certainly wake a lot of people up.
It would certainly wake people up. Jack would have his proof, but there'd also be panic, and before you know it, the grid, we'd all be off the grid, and then we would really all start starving to death quickly.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
Well,
it might happen that way. That's a possibility. All kinds of stuff. You can't tell what would happen. It would depend how they communicated.
There'd be a huge social upheaval, of course.
Unless they came in and just took over took over all positions, but they would have to have boots on the ground. You see, how are they going?
Not necessarily. They might negotiate.
You know, it's interesting though that Hollywood and the mass media has been
I'm trying to do.
The mass media there's a number of television shows and movies that are concentrating on this theme, and I think that's being done for a reason.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. It's obviously people are interested in this subject, but I think it's a little more sinister than that. I think that it's meta programming. I think they're trying to program these memes into the social consciousness.
Well, they've done. I mean, that's been happening since Roswell, since the 40s. It's been happening.
Right.
So
So what's going on there?
Well, we don't know. I mean, it could just be people making money.
That's true. That's true.
That's it. It could be just fiction, But I mean.
But we do know that the CIA has been heavily involved in the entertainment industry as well as the news industry.
Right.
So
there was that book that I gave to Kat. She never gave it back. What was it, Hollywood and the UFOs or something? What was that book?
I mean, are they conditioning us gently for this inevitability to happen?
Well, let's put this way. Things are reaching now. Things are reaching a breaking point, a critical point, where there has to be a phase transition to something. Whether it's going to right. I mean, it's reaching a critical point with the climate change. I mean, you have Robert Mueller, a physics professor at Berkeley, who is being funded by the Koch brothers, and he was a climate change denier. Now he's changed his mind due to recent data. So things are happening quicker than people anticipated, and the perfect storm is approaching. It looks like, both economically, financially, ecologically, the extreme weather. Well, they're expecting 17 extreme hurricanes in Florida now, in the next till November. Between now and November, 17.
That's a high
number relatively to before. So,
so Dan, what's your solution to all this?
My solution is to let's put on God's hat, put on God's spectacles, and think, what would be the best possible way to bring about this transition, this awakening, this transformation?
But Dan, that's fine. It's idle speculation because you have no evidence. Number one, that there is a benevolent God.
Right. Okay? This is metaphysics.
This is all this is wish fulfillment. You're wishing it was so, and maybe it's right.
Yeah.
But until something happens, it's just idle speculation. And meantime,
well, all right.
We're going to hell in a handbasket.
It's not idle speculation to say that we've come a long way, baby, out of the muck. Out of the primordial ooze.
Yeah.
Look at here we are.
And now we may have reached
drinking Lafroig.
That's great.
Whiskey in the Tuscan
we
garden.
are fiddling as Rome burns.
Yeah, but if you look at the history of human civilization,
if there were a benevolent, first of all, would a malevolent God have permitted us to come this far? Why? Just to slaughter us? Just to fatten us up and then slaughter us? That's possible.
That's possible.
But if it is, there's nothing that you and I are going to do about it.
Right. Okay. You're taking the optimism. You're good cop, I'm bad cop right now. I'm being devil's advocate.
I understand.
It may be that.
I understand. But that's the only thing we can do to move forward is to have some sort of hope and trust. If we want to hunker down, if we want to say it's all over.
Hope and trust in what?
Hope and trust in what?
In the Creator. In the Creator. That we see from the anthropic principle, that we see from...
Well, you have the cosmic landscape, the alternative.
But Christians have hope and trust in a supreme being, and Muslims do, and Hindus have a pantheistic
but
point
most
of
them
view.
are miserable economically and will stay miserable.
I bet a lot of them are happier than you and me. We're not.
I don't know.
You always
I'm pretty happy.
Well,
I'm happy,
right.
for the
You're not that much happier than we're not. Yeah,
What?
On average,
Speak for yourself. I'm very happy at the moment.
Today.
You know, and then we had the Nazis,
yeah,
then we
now
had the
you're
communists.
What?
We had the Nazis and we had the communists. You know, look at the history of the last 200 years.
We have Pol Pot.
Everybody, you know,
All right.
Napoleon
Stalin.
wanted to conquer the world and make it a better place. Hitler wanted to do the same thing.
Yeah.
The communists
wanted to
wanted
make
to
it a
do the
worse
same thing,
place.
and look what happened.
All right. Well, this is my point. Leads into my point is that if there were a technological solution, if there were an
There isn't
ET,
any. There isn't any other
Jack,
apart from
wait
ET.
a minute, Jack, please,
apart from ET.
please,
Okay,
please,
good.
please. If there were, it would not be. Things would not look the way they do now. Things look the way they do now is that God is playing. If given a God, then the God is playing this drama. God is a drama queen, and we're coming into a
we're approaching the
dramatic
final
event.
act.
And the question
We're
is
approaching the
how
final act.
final act. All right, now I'm just supposing. I'm taking upon myself. How would we best stage manage this act? And I'm saying God would do what he's done before, which is to send a prophet down to the earth and prophesy. And that's all I'm trying to do is do a little prophet.
Well, I just see a
prophecy.
dichotomy
There are
in
many
that.
prophets. There are many prophets walking at
Right.
Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
a
just
lot-
don't
a lot-
understand,
they're in
Dan,
New
how
York,
you can
and there are a lot
talk
of
about
mental
prophets.
institutions.
You can talk about prophets,
Yeah.
and then you come up with this scenario
Right.
of the motherships coming down.
Yeah.
So who's piloting the motherships?
Right.
The motherships aren't going to come down until we're ready,
Okay.
and we're not
The
yet
only
ready.
time that there would be a prophet taken seriously, if this prophet had enormous powers of the paranormal, psychotronic mind control, and had enormous
Well,
weapons of mass
Jack,
destruction that he could show people. That's the only prophet that'll be recognized as a prophet.
Jack, maybe you should read your Bible.
I don't
And you
want
would
the
see.
Bible. Piss on the Bible, man.
I'm just
Bible's
saying
just-
how has it worked in the past? When let's think
Come
about
on,
how
man.
this has worked.
Bible, Inquisition.
before
The Bible
and
has
how
caused
it
more
works.
suffering, and then all the sacred books, religious wars. Look what's that with the Quran and all that stuff.
It's hard to argue with that.
Are we
I'm
coming?
like Christopher.
Can we,
I agree with.
can we,
I agree with Christopher.
Let's not go to
Hitchens.
the very end,
Yeah.
should we? Maybe this is a time to take a short break.
The date is August 14th, 2012, and we're continuing our informal conversation with Dan Smith and Dr. Jack Sarfatti in the Tuscan Garden. So, gentlemen, pick it up where we left off a few minutes ago.
Okay, we were talking about profits and
And losses.
losses, and
Loud.
if we were God, the three of us here were trying to figure out what would be the best theological plan for the end times, I would suggest that first we consider what followed the tradition, which is the prophetic tradition, which is
First of all, why should there be an end time? See, in cosmology, end time is in our infinite proper time future. It's a finite conformal time, but it's still 64 billion years. I mean, you could want to cut off the adventure with an end time?
well.
It's boring, man. It's boring. Just look at George Bernard Shaw, Don Juan in Hell. I'd rather be in hell. Who wants to have an end time? I mean, heaven, the whole point of heaven is boring. That's how all the great philosophers, all the great literary people have known that. Read Man and Superman, George Bernard Shaw.
You're making fair points, Jack.
Yeah.
Here. Very fair point.
It's
Important
end time.
points.
Yeah, end
important
time.
points that
Screw the
most
end time, man.
modern
I don't want the
people
end time. You can have it.
agree with. Now, let's consider that we've discussed the possibility of having perpetual progress. Why not have perpetual progress?
Even at why does it have to be perpetual? It doesn't have to be a monotonic increasing function. Go up and down, up and down. And
well,
it can be
all right.
fractal
Then
at
they're
different
two
scales.
different. There's
It might be a fractal.
all right, but see, you're switching. You're being a moving target here. And
Yeah.
we need to consider one possibility at a time. One possibility is perpetual progress.
All right.
That's one possibility. The other one you just mentioned is the eternal return, the eternal cycle, which is what the pantheists believe.
But if you're talking about Kurzweil's technological singularity as the end time, okay, that
the snake with its tail in its mouth.
That's another.
No, that's.
Well, you may be talking about the technological singularity of Ray Kurzweil.
I'm not talking about it.
I mean, that's a kind of end time, right?
Yes.
It goes to some kind of qualitative phase transition in